Good everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. Today we will be making trees that would fit into any typical anime background. As you can see at the moment, I'm showing you an example of what you can achieve with this specific technique. That's what I'm going to be showing you. I'm only going to be showing you how to make a single tree, and I'm going to be showing you how to distribute that as a particle system, which makes it a lot more memory efficient. It'll also enable you to have a bit more control over your scene. So let's get started. You can press Shift A and you can check under Curve. It should say Add Tree. If it does not, you can simply go to your user preferences. You go under Add-ons. You can type in Sapling. You'll see it says Add Curve Sapling. This is what you use to add some basic trees. You're welcome to use any other kind of modeling technique that you prefer for trees. I'm just going to be showing you what I do to get the suggestion of it being painted. So you can literally apply this to pretty much any tree that you can get your hands on. So let's add a tree. I'm just going to be using this generic one over here. Just going to make it beveled so we can have some scale to it. Just want to think it's, no, it's not that one. It's the closest there is. Well, let's just stick it with that. Give it some resolution. No, curve resolution, bevel resolution. Just want to see what it looks like at the bottom. It has to be slightly rounded so that we have somewhat smooth shadows. I think if we go with 2 will do. Just needs to create a soft surround. At the moment it does, so we're happy with that. Now go to leaves. You can add extra branch splitting and all that kind of other fun stuff, but that's not the focus. The focus is just to show you the technique. So you can, we have enough trees, leaves, just increase the size of the leaves. I want this to be quite a lush tree. Looks good. Remember, you're not going to be seeing all this when you render it out. So I am happy with that. Okay, let's get rid of that by pressing T. You'll see that it's 2 different objects, leaves and the base. This enables you to use these groups of planes as bushes and all sorts of other shrubbery that has a lot of leaves attached to them, like hedges, that sort of thing. I would not recommend using this for hedges though, it's a little too memory intensive. Bushes are good. Okay, so let's select our tree. Get rid of the leaves for the moment, I don't want them to render. Just want to get rid of these hemilamps as well. They are what I use for toon shading light, so I'm just going to get rid of those. They're on this layer. Okay, expand and turn the leaves off. Let's only select a portion so that it renders super fast. Okay, let's call this trunk. And let's make it a slight brownish color. Take the saturation down a bit, darker. Give it some color, soften it out. Remember, this is not a very shiny material, it's a very diffuse material, so you don't need super specularity on it. It looks nice. No translucency, no transparency, no mirror, no nothing. We don't need mist, unless you plan to use mist. I tend to turn everything off that does not need to be turned on. You definitely do need to turn on receive transparent shadows. The technique we use to make the leaves requires that everything around it that's supposed to receive the leaves shadow has to be able to receive transparent shadows, or you're going to be getting a lot of black blocks. Okay, that's fine. Let's give it a texture. Let's call this trunk painted. Get a cloud texture. Definitely not UV. Okay, already got a border. Okay. I want to make this overlay so that we get slightly different tones. Make the Z to be, let's go 0.1. It's a little bit lengthy. 0.2. What about 0.15? I like 0.15, okay. Now if you want to, you can add a little bit of normal to this, just for a little suggestion of texture. Would not suggest that you put it too high or that you add too much depth, because it makes it a lot slower. So I'm going to be sticking to a depth of 2 and a normal value of 0.1. You can choose to turn it off or on. Let's make it 0.5 so that we actually see something. Okay, that is good. Let us do the leaves. So this time we're going to be turning off the tree and turning on the leaves. As you can see, it's quite required. Okay, let's call this material leaves. Make them green. Not that green. About there. Give them a nice specular value. Not that bright. Okay, that's nice. Usually they have a slight waxy surface, so you can definitely sharpen the specularity for the leaves. Translucency, you can turn this on. It's not required. If you have a super fast computer, have at it. Traceable is fine. Oversampling is fine. Not going to be using mist. Receive transparent. Don't need auto ray bias, since it looks already super simple faces. Don't need buffer shadows or approximate shadows. Okie dokie. Now let's add a texture. So we'll call this one leaves and go clouds. And this is going to be our leaves. So we just need to set this to generated. And we need to scale it. Let's try 5. 5 looks good. I just lessened the depth here to 1. I think we need to shrinking it down, or yeah, leave it on 2, make this 10. And 10 is a bit much. Try 8. See, this is a process that you have to go through to get just the right look that you want. Okay, that's nice. Now we can turn on transparency. I totally recommend using ZTransparency. It's faster than ray trace, even if you turn on full sample, which you need to get rid of that outline issue. Link in the description. I also recommend setting it to tint. This is the anti-aliasing filter. And setting it to 1.5 gives you a bit of a softer finish, especially if you have like brick textures and other kind of stuff that tends to create sort of like a comb. But at the moment, we're just trying to get this done as an example. Okay, now set this leaves texture to have control over the alpha of the material. Don't worry about the color. And there you have some leaves. As you can see, it looks pretty cool. Now I want to show you what it looks like all together. So I'm just going to move the camera a little bit more backward and turn the trunk back on. Let's just turn this up and turn the trunk back on. And let's hit render. I'm going to change the camera's rotation so we get a nice full frame. So let's call it 1080-1920. And now we can actually move the camera back. Haha! Okay. And render. Okay, I see we have a bit of a too soft edge. So we're seeing too much of the actual plain shapes. So go under leaves. And just sharpen the alpha out a bit, like that. And turn on normal. See, that gives us a little bit more of a defined look, for lack of a better term. Now you can see these outlines. That's what I was talking about a second ago. I put a link in the description on how to fix this. There are some downsides to it, but yeah, I'll let you read the article. Okay, Now I can see we have a little bit too much foliage, especially here at the top. So we are going to be removing some of it. So set it to faces, go select random, press Z and remove the bottom part. Okay, and now set delete faces. Okay, now if you press tab again, see it's still too much. So I'm going to say select random again, do exactly the same. If you don't know how to remove, I simply click the scroll wheel that deselects in this mode. Okay, it's better. Still a little much at the top though. Scroll this down. Okay, let's delete that. And there are a few faces that stick out here that look kind of strange. And this one too. And this weird one, okay. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Fairly consistent. Okay, let's give that another render. That looks much better. I still think our leaves are a little bit too dense, so I'm just going to be thinning it out slightly. Okay, that looks nice. If you add shadows, this is what you get. Just want to turn that down, turn that up. Okay, now look at the trunk over here. This is why you need to receive transparent shadows. Let me show you what happens if you turn it off. It's under shadow. See, you get a black box like that. So I totally recommend leave it on. Okay, that's our leaves, that's our tree. And now we get to distribute this over a plane. A word of caution, I've tried keeping the shapes as they are, i.e. the branches and the trunk being a curve and the leaves being a mesh. But it doesn't work. You have to make them a solid object. I've tried distributing a group. If you distribute the whole group, there's like an offset from the surface of the plane that you place the particles on. I don't know why. It's the way it works. So we're going to be converting this. So press Alt-C after you've selected the trunk and say mesh from curve. And then select the tree and the leaves together and press Ctrl-J. It doesn't matter which one you select, the origin is still at the bottom of the tree. So go into tab mode. You can see now we have the tree like that. Press A, grab it, move it slightly down so that the tree can rotate on the plane. And that looks good. Now let's move it to a separate layer. Now the trick with particles is to have them stand up. The object needs to lay down. As weird as that sounds. So what you need to do is you just need to throw it over and you need to point it opposite the Y direction. No, not that way, other way. There we go. I think this is the correct direction. That's the diagram I drew. So we are going to be testing this. So let's add a plane, scale it up, call this one tree ground. Let's use the tree material for it. Say new. Let's duplicate this one as well and make this one 0 and this one 2. 0. That looks pretty. Call the particle system trees. Particle system trees. Remember, this is just a placeholder. This is the actual particle system. So this is the important one to rename. This one just helps you know what is what on your object. Definitely don't need 1,000 trees, so let's go with 50 so we can actually use the viewport. Set that to 1, lifetime to 1. Click random on faces. If you place individual objects across the scene using particles, you will use vertices instead of faces. Okay, we won't be using any physics. We will be using our object. Let's call it tree. As you can see, it points down. But the reason that we rotated it is so that we can rotate it like that. Cool. So if you want to, you can simply rotate your plane. And there we have our trees. So you can make the rotation random so that every tree has some form of individuality. It's enough to fool the eye. That looks pretty cool. Let's scale it up so that we have a better look. Give some random size so that not everything is on eye level. Looks nice. And reduce the display to about 50%. And you can increase the amount to, before we do that, I don't want it crashing on me, so let's use 0.50, 100. Okay. Now we can increase it to about 250. Okay. Now, because we chose to view points and draw them rather big, it enables us to see where the trees will be. So if you want to place your camera in a clearing, you would be placing it over here, but that doesn't guarantee that your camera will not be inside the leaves. So you are going to have to do test renders. So let's set the camera resolution back to 1920 by 1080. Let's turn off anti-aliasing for the sake of speed. Performance is fine. Just checking that everything that enables it to go faster is turned on. I'm happy with that. Let's move the camera into the clearing. I'm going to place it on this clearing over here. Okay, now let's give that a quick render after we save. Okay. Okay, there is our basic tree system. Now, as you can see, the texture coordinates changed on the tree itself, so we are going to be quickly fixing that. One way that you can fix this is by using global coordinates instead of generated. But I'm going to be sticking to generated and making this 2 and leaving that on 0.15. Since our trees are rotated, it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's give another quick render. This has to be smaller, so I'm going to be using 0.05. And there was something else. The normals are too strong as well, so I'm going to be using 0.1 and giving it more depth. See, every tree that you make, you have to customize to suit the needs of the scene. So you can see in this case that the rounding of the tree on this side over here causes something of a seam to form. Okay, that looks fine. I do think that it's still not exactly what I want, and I think the reason is because the tree is laying down. So let's copy only for the trunk. Why isn't it showing up? Oh, that's why. Okay. I have to make sure the layer is visible. Okay. Now you can see slightly, and we're going to be using that to make use of this. So let's make this one 2 and this one 0.15. I don't think this is the one that needs to be 0.15. Let's make this one 0.1. There we go, that's the one. 0.15. Okay, make it 0.2, 0.3. 1 is too much. 0.5, okay. I'm happy with 0.5. Let's get rid of the border. Solid. Sorry about that. Do it again. There we go. Okay, take 2.5. There we go. That looks much better. Let's add some grass to the floor. Remember, this is just a very, very quick example. I actually recommend that you put a lot more time into this. Let's call this one grass and make it green. Call it ease, like that. Just want to make sure the particles don't show up, so I'm just going to be turning them off. I want to be able to see the grass like that. Yeah, there we go. Let's make it bigger. Oh, that's the problem. This should be ungenerated. Make this about 1. Okay, that's good. I want it to be mostly green. Not all green, just mostly green. And I want to reduce both the color and the normal. I'm not happy with the green. The green's kind of not strong enough. So I want to make it stronger, brighter. Change the hue a bit. It needs to be bluish. Okay, I see what the problem is. There we go. It wasn't the shade, it was the specularity on the material itself. What's this? Caused it to be a little brown. Oh, okay, see, that looks nice. Now we have some good grass. If you want to, you can add the normal stronger again. No, it's way too strong. No, I think it was good on 0.1. It just gives a little variation. That looks all pretty like. Okay, solid. Turn the stuff back on. And we can give this another render. Okay, that looks awesome. Now I'm going to be adding a few touches through compositing, which I've already done a tutorial on. I recommend you watch that, description below. I'm just going to be touching this up a little bit, making it smoother, adding a sky dome, all that jazz, just to show you what even this simple little tree can look like. And this is it. Just a few bells and whistles added. You can do a lot more to the scene to make it better. You can add some weeds, you can add a bench, you can add more stuff in the background to make it look like the forest extends despite having the sky above, etc., etc., etc. This is purely just duplicating these leaves, producing bushes, adding some compositing to simplify the result, adding a sky dome, adding some ambient occlusion just to darken up some areas to give uneven contrast. But something I forgot to mention in the first portion is if you go to the particle systems, you will see that I gave it a lifetime of 1 frame. The reason I do this is so that it will not move. But the problem is if you do not tick under render died, it will not show up. It will vanish as soon as you get to the next frame. Let me demonstrate. As you see, we are on the first frame. Let me go there. See? Gone. Whereas, if you keep it on, it stays. So you have to make sure that if you use this particular method to scatter stuff across the scene using particles, make sure that you have died ticked. You don't have to have emitter ticked if you don't use an emitter that needs to be visible, but this one is absolutely necessary if the lifetime is set to 1. Just to clarify. And that's it for this tutorial. Have a great one and God bless.